Hello, everyone. Welcome back to our Getting Started with Jira Administration. Today, we're going to be talking about priority, time tracking, and issue links. And if you're wondering why those three specific topics, well, stick around because I'm going to show you exactly why those are going to be covered in just a few seconds. My name's Alex, and we are continuing down our September journey of community-led trainings. And this is the one for Jira Administration. So, without any further ado, I just want to welcome everybody. We already have Chad from Indiana. We have Liz from LA. So my very tried and true folks that love to be here. Thank you both for being here. Audio is good. Thank you so much, Chad. This stuff keeps me up. As many times as I've been doing this, that live audio check is always very, very helpful to have. So, good morning, Justin from Michigan. So I am back. I've been on travel for the last couple of days, so I am getting re-situated here in my room, my office, and so hopefully everything looks okay. Good morning, Naveen. Good morning. All right. So we're going to be talking about three things, but some friendly reminders before we get into it. The session is being recorded. It's going to be available on this YouTube channel after. So if you haven't hit the subscribe button, that would be a great time to hit that subscribe button. Slides are not available. I'm very weak on the slides, folks. We're 9 months into this. If you haven't caught up already, I don't do slides very much. So no slides, but you will have this video to watch over and over and over and over and to share with all your coworkers. Make sure you turn on those notifications though, because we do go live every single week and we plan on going live every single week between now and the end of the year. So you don't want to miss out on any of those trainings. I'll say hello in the chat. As you can see, we have a couple people already. We got Justin here. We got Justin saying, just finished learning about playbooks from Rob. Yep. So lots and lots of trainings available here. So just make sure you say hello. Liz says, tech tutorials, do you have those dreams? 66 minutes, no audio. Yeah, that would be a nightmare. I've actually had another community leader record the entire hour, never looked at the comments, and realized an hour later that there was no audio. So it has happened before. So it wouldn't be unprecedented. All right. We got hello. Yeah, so everybody's just saying hello. So thank you. Yeah, so say hello in the chat. Let me know where you're tuning in from. Let me know if you're a Jira admin. Let me know how many years of experience you have. Let's just get this community. Let's get the chat alive. Do keep in mind that YouTube has this new cool little thing in the chat where the more you comment, the more there's like a leaderboard thing going on. I'm not sure what you get, but YouTube gives you like some badges or something. So interact, be a part of this. This is why we do these live. I could just sit here, do them recorded, not mess up my words, and the video would be perfect. But no, we decided to do it live so that I can say hi and get to know you all. So hello, Jared from Ontario, Canada. All right. Also, I do have membership opportunities. So if you do enjoy these trainings, if you do enjoy this kind of open collaboration and just learning about the Atlassian tools, I do have a membership opportunity. Atlassian doesn't pay me to do these. In fact, I've donated way too much of my free time to Atlassian. And so there is a membership opportunity. So you get free early access to all the videos that I drop. The Summer of Atlassian, we dropped over 100 videos in 100 days. And so you get early access to all that stuff. You get member-only live streams, member-only recordings, and a bunch of new benefits that I'm going to be working on, because in 2026, we're pivoting to members. We're going to do a little bit less here in the Atlassian community. And so you're going to definitely want to be a member if you're going to want to make sure you take advantage of everything. All right. And we also do have super chat donations available. So before we get into it, one last huge announcement. We are hosting a free 3-day Atlassian Builders Summit. This is going to be hands-on, almost 30 sessions. We're going to have the Great Agile Debate. We're giving away free copies of the Big Book of Atlassian. We are going to have experts from the Atlassian community, not necessarily Atlassians, but members of the Atlassian community. These are folks that do this stuff every single day. And so if you want to come and learn, not just from me, Robert Heen's going to be there, Jira, the Rodney guy, Rodney, the Jira guy. I just gave him a whole new name. Rodney, the Jira guy, is going to be there. We're going to have a lot of amazing people. We're going to have debates. We're going to have panels, well, a couple of them, but we're going to have a lot of 26 hands-on sessions for you all. So if you want to take your skills to the next level, this is the event. Now, we did fill up the 150 seats already, but due to the overwhelming demand, we opened up 100 more. And so we are down to maybe the last 85 or so. So if you have not subscribed or signed up or secured your seat, now is your time to do this. I'm going to be dropping a link here in the chat real quick. so you can sign up for this event. This is once these last seats go, folks, like that's it. I'm not opening up any more seats. Um, we're capping it at 250. We're currently at 166. So secure your spot, get your free copy of the Big Book of Atlassian, come network, come learn, come understand and see different perspectives. We're going to have forged discussions. We're going to have Jira administrator discussions. And Lena, if you're watching, I need a new slide here because we do not know how to spell very well. Apparently, we're very good at Jira, but we're not very good at English. So keep that in mind. And then we got some Agile stuff here. So Long Beach, October 22nd to the 24th, completely free event. You just need to book your hotel, get your travel, get yourself down to Long Beach, and we'll see you in October. All right. A little bit about me too, just to kind of get things out of the way in case you're new and we haven't met. My name's Alex. I do a lot of YouTube videos on the internet, specifically with respect to Jira and the Atlassian tools. I'm the CEO of ApeTech. I'm the co-host of the Jira Life, and I have a couple of other endeavors. So if you want to follow me on LinkedIn or just connect, I'm going to drop my LinkedIn here. Well, actually my link tree. And then you're going to be able to find all the free stuff that I do, all the paid stuff that I do, that membership I was talking about, I think should be on there. All the other different things that I offer. So if any of this stuff that we're going to be reviewing today, if any of this is hard for you, I do help. I do have one-on-one time. And so in that link tree, you feel free to get a hold of me and we'll set up some time to chat and I'll help you out with your Jira problem. So with that said, we're going to jump into it. We're going to cover 4 things. Well, technically 3, but really 4 things. We're going to talk about priority schemes, time tracking, and issue linking. So if you're wondering why those particular ones and why in that order, well, let me show you Jira. And so we are going to jump into Jira. We're going to come over to our gear. Now, as a friendly reminder, you do need to be a Jira administrator for this to work out efficiently, right? Because if you're not a Jira admin, then your experience is going to be a little bit less than ideal. So you want to make sure you are a full Jira administrator minimum. If you're a side and org admin, that's going to work as well. But you do want to, at a minimum, be a Jira admin. This is not going to work if you're a project admin, and this is definitely not going to work if you have no admin rights whatsoever. Okay. So on the right-hand side, you need to be able to click on the gear, and you need to be able to see work items here on the right-hand side. So let's jump into that. And then on the left, as you see kind of the left and you see the trainings we've done since January, you can see how we've been working our way down. And so now we're under priorities and we're going to be under work item features. So those are going to be the 4 things that we're going to be covering: priority schemes, time tracking, and apparently not issue linking anymore. I could have sworn Atlassian hadn't updated everything, but apparently they did update it here. We're going to see if they updated inside of work item linking, but we're going to cover work item linking. So let's start off with priorities. And in fact, before we do that, let me just give you a brief demo. What is a priority? Well, in case you've been living under a rock, when you create a work item, if Jira were to cooperate with me, okay, when you create, okay, so apparently you can't create a work item here. So let's go over this way. There we go. So when you create a work item in Jira, this is a field that is often overlooked, but you have a field called priority. And by default, well, we're going to get into it, right? But by default, there's a medium priority, and we'll cover some of the semantics in a few minutes. But this priority field is always inside of Jira. Now, whether you expose it on your screens or not, this is a very interesting field. This is what is all this error messaging that I'm getting, right? But whether you use it or not, it's a little less relevant because the priority field is just mandatory, but it's a hidden under the scenes because automatically when you create any work item, the priority is defaulted to whatever default value you set, which again, we're going to cover how to change the default value in a second. But the priority field is a very interesting field. It's a field that is used by many teams. And in fact, when I do all my Agile training, the priority field is a very important field. It helps me communicate level of importance because not all work is created equal. Okay. And because not all work is created equal, some work is more important, higher priority, and other work is less important. And especially when we come and talk about bugs, this is the most important field in a bug, in my opinion, because this is going to tell you the world's on fire, someone's going to die, or we have a typo, right? And there's different levels, right? Different priority levels are going to require a different response from your teams. And so it's very, very important that you have good priorities inside of your Jira projects, right? And so because of that, we want to be able to tweak the priority. Now, unfortunately, well, I guess it's fortunate now, but prior to about a year ago, priorities were global. And so that means that when I came here, right, when I was in my priorities section, whatever priorities I defined here, that was global for everybody, which was interesting because data center didn't have that, right? Data center actually has what we have today, which is the priority scheme, which we're going to talk about in just a second. But for many, many, many years in the cloud, your priorities were globally set. So that means that every single Jira project had the same priorities available. Now, one caveat, one thing, one little pro tip that I can give you if you're paying attention here is be very, very careful. Okay, I'm going to repeat this for the people in the back and the people multitasking. Be very, very careful when you're importing work into Jira, because if you are importing priorities, right? If you have a column in your import file for priority, it will append those values here. And when you append those values, as I mentioned just a few minutes ago, right? This is still technically global until you create priority schemes. And so be very, very careful when you're importing, especially from another tool that has a different set of priorities, because Atlassian has their highest, high, medium, low, lowest. Those are not standard. I usually go with major, minor, oh boy, critical, critical, major, minor, normal, and I forgot the final one, right? Nuisance or something like that, right? There's like a standard, right? Like IEEE has defined a standard set of values for priorities, right? So the Atlassian ones of highest, high, medium, low, lowest, those are not standard. And so I've seen, and I've actually done it myself, where I import from another tool, maybe from like Rally version 1, right? TFS version, another different tool. And as I'm importing them in, because I have the column, it will append those values here. So if you ever see extra values, you're like, what the heck, where do these come from? It's because of an import that either you or another Jira admin did, and just know that they become available. So a little pro tip, because again, it's very important. It's bitten me in the butt many, many times. Okay. So with that said, this priority section here, right? This is where we come to add new priorities. So we can very easily add like major, right? You can add a description, although it's less relevant because nobody will see it except for the Jira admins. You can choose an icon if you want to. You can pick any of these icons. And I think that the icon is very, very important. Atlassian doesn't seem to think so. They seem to think that the color is the most important part, even though I don't know that I ever see the color inside of Jira. So um, so this is very interesting. So you do got to give it a color. It used to be that you used to have to type in a color. So this is a very welcome change that Atlassian just gives us colors that we can choose from. But it used to be that you'd have to type in like red or yellow or blue, and then a color would be picked. I don't know. I would think, my 2 cents, Atlassian, if you're watching, the icon is 10 times more important than the color, because when you go to the priority, you see the icon, but you don't see the color. So I don't understand why there's such a hard requirement here that you must pick a color when the icon, I think, is more important. So color is great, other than the fact that it's an accessibility taboo. Yeah, the icon's accessible. I mean, I appreciate the color. I'm not trying to knock the color. I'm just saying the users don't see the color, right? Maybe something under the hood, Atlassian is doing something with the color, but the icon the user sees. And so to have the same icon for multiple priority levels, like if I were to do this, right? If I were to do this one, um, there we go. If I were to do this, and when I do hit add priority, I now have two with the same, right? So if I were to move this up here, like my user's gonna see them both, and I think it's confusing, right? So I think having more icons would be more important. Liz also says, is a documentation that also advises to break up your imports into different XML files? I don't know. I don't usually import with XML. I usually just do a straight CSV import. I've always broken it up into multiple. So Atlassian's documentation doesn't do this very well, although I think they do have a statement in there somewhere. But you can only import up to like 1,000 work items at a time. And so when you start going over 1,000, that's when I start breaking it up into more files. Justin says, Jira, an amazing Technicolor drop-down box. Yeah, again, it would be great if you can actually see the colors. Liz says the only way the color is accessible is if it's like a red color and you label the label red text and the alt tag. Oh, okay. So probably for, probably for accessibility again. I get it, but I get the accessibility, not knocking the accessibility either, but I would like to see it as a regular user. Okay, so that's the priority, right? So that's what we do in here is we add more priorities. So we can just simply click on the add priority, add more priorities. We have an option over here to assign alert priorities. This is going to be for your JSM Ops Genie folks. And then the other thing that we can do here is that you can basically rename things. So if you didn't like major and you made a mistake, or maybe you want to change the icon, right? You can always edit them. And so I'm going to change the icon here, hit edit my priority, but you can rename your things. Again, keep in mind, these are global. You can delete a priority. Keep in mind, these are global. And so like if you try to delete medium, it shouldn't let you because it's in use. And so keep in mind that before you ever delete any priorities, make sure you do a bulk edit and move everything that has that priority to a new priority, which normally means you have to coordinate with your users before, because you need to know, okay, so if I'm not going to use medium, what should they become, and things of that nature. And then a couple of other actions you have the ability to move up, down, or select the position. But I found that just moving, drag and dropping is going to be way more effective than clicking move up, or move down, move down. So keep in mind that you have the ability to move a little bit of these items around. I don't know how important or how they show up inside the when the actual user goes to pick them, but we'll take a look at that in just a second. Liz says, how about we let the people who can see everything know the indicator? That is the fairest. Yes, probably most likely. Slim Boy says, I want to start working in the Jira sandbox, but I'm afraid to activate it. Will activating perhaps email bomb the users, trigger automation emails? We have 5,000 users. So notifications, if I'm not mistaken, are normally disabled in your sandbox. So if you go and properly make a sandbox, as in you're a premium or enterprise customer of Atlassian, you should be able to create your sandboxes and add your 5,000 users. You should note that if you do add, the sandbox is normally more for admins and your testers, right? I would not add 5,000 people to my sandbox because I don't need 5,000 people inside my sandbox. I don't think you would want to do that, Slim Boy, right? Your sandbox should be just for the people testing and your Jira admins, because you never, ever, ever want your team to work out of the sandbox. You never want production to actually happen in your sandbox. That's a very dangerous place, especially since sandboxes can go away like that, like snapping your fingers. You can make an entire sandbox disappear, and you never want your team members working out of there, working on something that you're actually production ready, right? You don't want to do that. And the other thing is you can always override, right? So with another snap of the finger, you can always override your sandbox data, so you can just wipe out everything that's in there. And so I would never add 5,000 people. But even if you added people, I do believe notifications from the sandbox are suppressed. And so you shouldn't have a big problem. But yeah, not a good idea to add 5,000 people to a sandbox. Okay, so now that we know our priorities, right? Now that we know some of the rules that they're global and things of that nature, Atlassian, for whatever reason, took forever, right? But they brought this feature called priority scheme. So we're going to transition over to priority schemes. And let me describe what a priority scheme is. Because if you're in the cloud, this is a very new feature. Again, it's been around for like maybe a year. And if you're in data center, then you've had this forever and a half. And I don't know why we went like 7 years without this in the cloud, which blows my mind. But essentially, because of the fact that priorities are global, right? Because those values are defined everywhere, it becomes really annoying when you have two or more teams that are like, well, I want high, low, right? I just want two values, right? Or you have another team that says, well, I want completely different names, right? I want names like major, minor, right? Critical. And those don't necessarily align with the Atlassian ones of highest, high, medium, low. And so when you start having different teams that want different values, there was no way to do this, right? Most people back then would create a custom field. That was not a pretty solution either. And so you don't want to do that, right? So you want to leverage the priority field inside of the wonderful world of Jira. And so again, about a year ago, Atlassian blessed us with these priority schemes. And what priority schemes allow you to do is they allow you to create buckets, very much like we can create buckets for our field configurations, for our screens, for our workflows, for our work types. We can now create these buckets. and then pick which of all of the available priority values, which ones do we want to see. And so let me show you how this works, right? So you come up here to the top, you click add priority scheme, and you want to give it a name. Now, pro tip, give it a helpful name, because you never know when another Jira admin is going to come in and help out. You never know when 6 months from now you're going to have to go and change it, and you're like, which one was it? And I can't remember. And so just do yourself a favor and give yourself good priority names, right? And so this is going to be our let's see, what should we call this one? I don't know. Atlassian Builders Summit Priority Scheme. Now, pro tip here: when you're creating a screen, I would put the word screen. Anytime you're creating a scheme, put the word scheme in there, right? So just so you know when you're working off of other configurations, and you should know when you're making a bucket. You should always know when you're making these buckets. So make sure I always give it the word scheme in here so that I understand and remember that I am indeed creating a bucket. Optionally, as you can see, I never add descriptions to anything, but feel free to add your description. And then comes the fun part. We add the values that we care for, right? And this is it. So I can pick the ones that I want. And then here I have the option to set the default. Now the default's very, 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 very important, folks. If you're multitasking, I want you to pause here for 1 second. I need your attention for just 30 seconds here. These next 30 seconds will save your life. Make sure you appropriately set a default priority. At the beginning, critical was my default priority. That means that when I go to create a work item, when I click the create button, when a user goes and creates clicks the create button, Jira is going to default the priority value to whatever your default value is. If critical is your default, because that's the first one that I added, your users are going to hate you. Okay, your users are going to hate you because the priority should be such an important field. You dilute the importance of this field when everything is a pressing issue, right? Everything's a critical item. The value of critical is diminished. You do not want that. So by default, I tend to pick a lower value. I tend to do like informational, right? Or lowest, or medium, right? Right in the middle. Because every time that somebody creates a work item, if a priority is not set to a value, it's going to default to your default value. And I'm okay with medium being diluted. I'm okay with information being diluted because I don't care about those items. I'm still going to review every bug, right? But I don't want to dilute the value and the importance of critical, right? Because if my company, right, little sidebar, right? If you all go to status.atlassian.com, we have active incidents across the board in the Atlassian cloud today, right? There's a priority field here, right? And if everything coming in, whenever a bug is all critical, then when there's actually an emergency, your team's not going to respond the same way because they've been numbed to the fact that everything is critical. So make sure you don't skip this step, and make sure that when you're creating these schemes for your project managers, your scrum masters, whoever's asking you for this requirement, make sure you communicate this information with them and pick the right value. So I'm going to do informational for mine, right? I don't mind diluting the lowest value because those informational items, right? If a bug is informational, maybe a little typo, right? Maybe something so insignificant. Maybe it's the wrong color, the wrong shade of red, right? Instead of like dark red or bright red, it's just red. That's not going to be a pressing issue for me, right? And so I'm going to leave it as informational. And so I tend to ignore informational items anyways. And so it's okay that we dilute to the lower priorities, but never, ever, ever compromise your upper priorities. Because when something is really, really bad, right? When there is a real problem, you want your team to know to react to that. And you don't want to train them that, oh, every bug is critical, because that's not going to be good. All right. So set your default appropriately and then click on add scheme here. And once you do that, your scheme's going to be created and we're done, right? No. The next step, right? The next step after this is, now that you have your scheme, is you now need to go apply it to your project. And so there's a project section here. And you can there's two ways to do this. I'm going to show you both ways. You can click very simply on add projects, and then you simply go to your projects and click next. And then there's a translation, right? So if you're removing a priority and it doesn't exist anymore, Jira is going to be smart enough and go, hey, hold up, wait a minute, time out. You're removing a priority. What should I become? And this is where you can hit save, do the mapping, and so on. Okay, and that's easy, right? There's BBA, right? Now has the new priority field or priority scheme. Right. So that's method number one. Method number two is you can actually go into a project itself, right? So I'm going to go, let's go to my Learn Jira in 5 days project that I made. Spoilers for videos dropping on my channel very soon. If you're not subscribed, make sure you hit that subscribe button because we're going to be dropping our very, very lucrative Learn Jira in 5 days series. And so make sure you hit the subscribe button for that. Also, let me know if you're excited. Let me know if I should continue this Learn Jira or Learn Something in 5 days series, because I'm actually I recorded already and it was super fun. It's going to be about an hour long. We're going to drop them into different days. So give me some feedback on what y'all think about that idea. Okay, so here we're going to go into this project here. I'm going to click on project settings, and then I'm going to go over to work items, and I'm going to go to, apparently I cannot do it this way. So never mind, there's only one way to do this. Atlassian, you're missing out here. I totally would have had a priority section here. Wow. Atlassian, missed opportunities, I think. All right. Well, folks, I lied to you. This is the only way to do this is in here. You're going to come to your priority schemes, and this is where you apply to a project. If you need to apply to more projects, as you can see here, the plus project is gone. So you got to go to your actions, go to edit, and go to projects up here on the top. Wow, this is not intuitive at all. Atlassian, bad user experience. If you're not going to make it easy for me to add more projects, don't hide. I would have never thought to look up there. And I naturally would have gone into the project and added it over here. So missed opportunities here, folks. Atlassian is pro at hiding settings. Absolutely. Absolutely, they are pros at hiding settings. It's just unintuitive. I am a big fan of making make sense and just simple, right? UX has definitely left the app. I don't know, folks, if you notice this. I don't know if this is a bug, right? But oh no, never mind. Yeah, it was a bug earlier, right? Like when I was in here trying to do the settings, I couldn't create work. I thought that was weird. The pop-up wasn't showing up. So anyways, so very unintuitively, if you need to add more projects because you've already, you have a scheme and you've already assigned it to one project, then very unintuitively, you're going to go to actions. Unintuitively, you're going to click on edit, and unintuitively, you're going to remember to look for projects over here. And then you can go and apply it to your project. So I'm just going to pick, you can just do this, click next. And again, Atlassian's going to say, hold up, these items are not, the statuses are missing or the priorities are missing. We need to translate. So once you do that, then it's set. So now if I click on the create button up here and I switch over to one of these projects that has these new priority values, I'm going to be able to show to you that in our priority field, if I have it, there it is, we're going to have the new values only. Go says, I could have sworn the priority existed in the, I want to say the same thing too. I don't know why it's not in here, but I could have sworn it was in there too. Maybe it's part of their new and improved UX that they gave us. Maybe they wanted to move it. I just don't see it anywhere. Maybe under features. Let me check features real quick. Code, security, deployments, pages. Yep, no, nothing. Atlassian. Every day, continue to disappoint me more. Raja says it was so simple in data center. Yeah, data center, I think probably has the right way to do it. I don't know why Atlassian in the cloud, man. If it ain't broke, don't fix it, folks. That should be an Atlassian value. If it ain't broke, don't fix it. Pretty positive you're correct. Yeah, I want to say it was in there. You guys are having fun with this one. You should just have a wholesale toggle on, toggle off automation. It's like when you didn't have an automation section in Confluence after the new UI updates. Yeah. I think I always wonder how Atlassian, like, I asked Mike when I interviewed him back in April of this year, I asked him, like, how involved are you in like the decision-making process of like new features, right? New things that get added or removed from the tools. And he's like, well, I'm at a high level, I'm very involved, but when you get down to the nitty-gritty, he's running a company, right? Hold up, guys. This light is blinding me. All right. So he's doesn't have the bandwidth to look at these things, right? But I feel like this is a miss. When you have something like this, right, where you can configure project setting. I'm just gonna go to a different project just in case it's a thing on me. But when you are here in your project settings and priorities is a project configuration you can do, then it should be in here. And that's rant number one. And number two is okay, fine, you're not going to give it to me, but you should make it easy for me to add a project here. Like I should have a plus project here, or in the actions I would expect a configure. I wouldn't expect an edit, because the edit is telling, like, it defaults me to renaming things, right? I'm trained based on the other settings that I've been doing for years, right? Like if I go to screens and you click on edit, it's different, right? Editing is just the name. So I would have expected, when I click on edit for the priorities here, a very similar experience, that I would be able to edit like the name of the scheme, not that this is where I would go to the projects to add more projects. So again, food for thought, Atlassian. Especially, I don't know who makes those decisions at Atlassian anymore. I feel like the product owners across companies. This is not Atlassian in general. Like this is just product owners in general. And a little of my bias comes from this book I've been reading on product owners, or product managers, really. And the thought is like, your product manager who comes up with these requirements, right, should be very, very heavily vested in knowing how your tool works. They should know how your customers use your tool, because I would not have greenlit this thing here. All right, sorry, little rant there, but this is why I have my own platform, right? So I can rant as much as I want. Go says, I have an issue linking permissions question. Have we already covered that? No, not yet. This is what we're going to move to next. So, well, yeah, we're going to move on to that next. You're making sense and conveying good instruction. This is a foreign concept. All right, so let's jump back into this. So basically, that's it. So we're done with priorities. We're going to move on down. Under forms, there's data connections. I've never used a data connection. So if you actually do this, let me know. I've been working with this for maybe 3 years now, and never have I ever gotten a requirement to add a connection to add external data sources to my forms. But if this is something that you guys actually do or need to know, let me know in the comments. I'm just, again, in the last 3 years that this section has been around, 3 or 4 years, not once has anyone ever asked me to configure it. So I'm gonna skip it, and we're gonna go to two things that are actually used quite a bit, which is time tracking and work item linking. So let's go to work item tracking here. So first thing you need to know, this is a global change, right? So when you do this, some of these things that we're gonna change here, it's gonna be a global change, right? And so you want to be very, very careful, because you're not impacting one team. You're not impacting just one individual. You're impacting your entire company. So everybody that uses your instance of Jira, it's going to be impacted. All right. So keep that in mind. And number two, Jira out of the box provides time tracking, right? Jira allows you to put time in. Getting the time out is usually not so simple. And that's why usually companies buy some sort of a third-party plugin. I'm not going to name any, because I hate Tempo. Tempo is enemy number one for me. And sorry, I'll never work with Tempo. I don't like you guys. Sorry. And if anybody's from Tempo, I apologize, but don't be evil. It's my mantra. And you took one of my favorite apps, custom charts for Jira, and you made it evil, and you started charging me for it, and I'm not okay with that. So I don't like you guys now. Anyways, again, I am on a roll today with my rants, aren't I? Number two, so again, the ability to put time into Jira is free. It's built in. The ability to get the data out is going to cost you some money. So you're going to need to get a plugin. Again, I would avoid Tempo at all costs, mainly because it costs 2 arms, 2 legs, and 2 kidneys to use or to pay for. But yeah, look at the Atlassian marketplace is flooded with time tracking tools. My favorite time tracking tool is actually gone. doesn't exist anymore for some reason, and I just haven't had time to investigate. I just found out like last Thursday, and I've been so busy with the Atlassian Builder Summit, I just haven't had any time to investigate. But there was one that I used to love. It was called Team Work Log Reports. It's gone, and I'm very sad that it's gone. But there's a lot of other ones out there. And when you do install those tools, when you right, Forge, Liz, let's talk after this. Right, but when you do install a plugin, keep in mind that that's when this list gets updated, right? So this time tracking provider, like as I mentioned, right, Jira ships for free. For free you can put time in, but you need to pay to get time out. But these app makers are very smart. They also, not only do they charge you to get time out, but they also then have their own experience for how to put data in, right? So again, when you get something like Tempo or some of the other tools, um, you're going to it's going to be able to toggle here. So you're going to be able to pick. Not all of them do it, right? I'm calling out Tempo because they're the ones that actually, when you use Tempo, they kind of force you to use their own. And so this is where you would see Tempo, and you would have to update to Tempo. Again, not sponsored by Tempo. I'm not a big fan of Tempo. So definitely check out, try out all the time tracking options before you settle on one. Okay, so that's what the time tracking here is for, right? So if you have an app, you're going to be able to toggle, and if the app supports this, right, if they force you into it, some apps like Teamwork Lock Reports, they allow you to use the native, and then you just need to use the reporting to get the data out. So you wouldn't have to alter the default time tracker because they don't care for that. But others like Tempo, they will do it. All right, so but let's go down to this global time tracking, because this is the setting that you'll actually change, and this is very important. Okay, again, global changes, folks, right? Global, it means everybody. You cannot tweak this team by team or user by user. Once you make the changes here, it's for everybody. And so the changes you're allowed to do are how many hours per day you work, again, the whole company, how many working days you have, and the most important ones, the two that I always modify, are these right here. Your time display format of pretty, and then your default unit for time tracking. And these are the two settings that are always configured, and I'm going to tell you why they're important, right? So if I open up a work item, so we're going to go into Jira. I'm going to open up in a story or a task or something. Let me see if I have anything. Apparently I don't have anything, so let's just create one here. Time tracking demo, right? So when I open up a story or a task or whatever we're working with here, and we go to the time tracking field, there's a time tracking right here, right? So when I click into this and I put 80 and I hit enter, right? And I hit save, see how it defaulted to 80 minutes, right? If I meant to put 80 hours, that's going to be a huge discrepancy between 80 hours and 80 minutes. You don't want that discrepancy. And your users, you cannot trust that your users are going to put the correct number. This is a more common thing. Your users are going to say, oh, I spent an hour on something. Awesome. Again, when I come here, 1 minute is very, 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 very different than 60 minutes. Okay. And depending on your default tier, you're going to either hurt or not hurt your team, right? And so you want your team, ultimately it's a training exercise, right? Ultimately you want your team to be very cautious and tell them, hey, you should be putting in the, I guess what they call the format, right? But you should be putting in, was it an hour, was it a week, was it a day, was it minutes, right? Like they should be trained to put that in. But in case they forget, know that this is going to default to this one. So if your team's like making too many mistakes and they keep putting 1 hour, right? If most tasks are over an hour and they're just putting 1 for 1 hour, and they forget the H, it's going to default to a minute. So if your team's consistently having this problem, this is where you can, again, global changes here, folks. You can click on this edit global settings, and you can change it from a minute to an hour. Maybe your team tracks by days, so you can change it to days. I would not go for weeks, but you can change the default unit that the item's going to be defaulted to. So that way, if I forget to put my format, it's going to default to not 1 minute when it should have been 1 hour. Okay. Now let's talk about pretty for a second, right? I'm going to do a hard number here. We're going to do 108, 105 hours. Okay. That's going to be 2 weeks, 3 days, and 1 hour, right? So when I hit save and I look at it over here, the time tracking that I've put on this is 2 weeks, 3 days, and 1 hour. This is great, right? But show of hands in the chat. How many of you bill by the hour? Just give me a +1 or let me know. Just drop a little emoji. How many of you charge or bill or get paid by the hour? Even if you're salaried, we're still by the hour. At the end of the day, you're working 2,080 hours a year. But who is not billed by, like, who is billed, like, who charges by the hour? So we got ghosts by the hour, right? Anybody else who's using by the hour? Okay. It's very important, folks, right? We're only using story points now. So that's fine. So story points are estimates. So let's make something very, very, very clear here, Trisha. You bring up a very good point, right? I'm not asking you how you estimate your story points. That's what the story points field is for. Time tracking is literally so you get paid, right? And so you should not be getting paid in story points, because otherwise, if I work on a 21 and I spend 20 minutes on it, that's going to be really good, right? We're specifically talking about time tracking. We're not doing agile estimates at this point. This is strictly money, right? We're not using hours for pay, so that's fine. But at the end of the day, even for salaried folks, so even for salaried folks, right, you still work 2,080 hours, right? That's why I made that comment. So at the end of the day, everybody is by the hours. Billing always happens by the hours, especially for contractors, right? I'm a consultant, I'm a contractor, so nobody's asking me how many weeks did I spend on something. Everybody will ask me how many hours, right? So hours is a very natural time format, right? And so as you can see here, folks, a lot of people are by the hour. And so this is where I have one of my biggest, I don't want to say the biggest, because as you can see, I have a lot of problems with Jira, right? But this is, I don't like this, right? Because when I have to do a report out to my clients, because I work by the hour, right? And they're like, well, how many hours did you spend on something? I'm like, well, I don't know. 2 weeks, 3 days, and an hour. And they're like, well, how many hours is that? I'm like, I don't know. Hold up. let me do some back of the napkin math. How many hours are in a week? How many hours in a day? Right. So I'm doing a crap ton of math just to figure out how many hours I actually worked on something. So this format is cool. I don't know why it's the default one, but I prefer to see hours, right? So if you're going to be using time tracking, so I would argue, if your company or team is asking you to put in time for tracking purposes, then you are most likely a billable person billing by the hour, right? You're probably not salaried at that point. If you're being asked to track time, you're probably not salaried. That's a pretty safe assumption. So anyways, the reason I'm going on this rant is because we have our time display format here. So I can change this to days or to hours, which is my favorite, right? Go says, I grind 24/7, so I charge for my existence. I love it. I love it. For me, every minute counts. Every 15-minute block counts for me. So I live 15 minutes at a time, Ghost. All right. So anyways, I like to change my time format to hours, because when I hit save here, right, over here, now when I hit the refresh button, instead of seeing that 2 days, 2 weeks or whatever, now I know that I logged 105 hours. Now I know an actual number that I can go bill and get paid for. No mathematical conversions need to be done in Excel or in my calculator or anything else, right? So again, I like this format. And so again, if you're an hourly employee or your company does a lot of hourly stuff, highly, highly, highly recommend you change your time format away from that pretty method, because that pretty is going to have you doing all kinds of mathematical conversions in your head, and the hours is just going to be so much easier. Okay. Copying of comments to work description. That is simply when you do add something, right? So when I spend 5 hours on something and I put in this here, training for Atlassian, and I click on save, all that's going to do is there's a section in your work item. Let me see if I can find it. Here we go. Under your work log, you'll have this information there, right? So that's just helping us there. So that is the time tracking. And so in the last 10 minutes that we have here together, let's talk about work item linking. So first setting. Oh, we got a couple of comments here. Jealous. I'm building the skills to get that in place. That's why I love IC. I can work 2 to 3 days straight. Yes. Individual contributors. I also have grad school, so interested. How many sanity? Oh, Ghost, don't burn yourself out. I can tell you that much. I've been planning an event, and holy moly, traveling, planning, running shows and podcasts, and doing this stuff for free. It's crazy. Also, become a member if you're interested in supporting the channel. Okay, so work item linking here. This is an on or all or nothing type of thing. You either turn it on or you turn it off. And sometimes when it's turned off, then people have a less than ideal experience inside of Jira. But we have our work item linking here, and you have the ability to turn it on or off. But what exactly is work item linking? Well, great question. Well, if you come back to our lovely handy dandy story we've been working off of earlier, there is an ability for you to click on this plus button and you can link a work item. And when you link a work item, you can pick a relationship, which we're going to talk about in just a second. And then you can pick the item that you want to link to, and you click link. So as long as you have access to that item, you can link it, right? And so what this setting here is doing is if you turn it off, if you click on deactivate, and I come back over here and I hit refresh, notice that my links are gone. And you'll notice that when I click on the plus button, the ability to link is gone, right? So keep that in mind that you can turn it off and it's a global setting, right? It's all or nothing for everyone. And so be very, very careful if you turn it off. I would ask that you have a very, very good reason why you would turn off issue item linking or work item linking. It's a very important feature. Work item linking is very important. It works in plans, and it just helps your team kind of establish a good picture of how things are interrelated. So I would not turn it off, but just know that you can turn it off. Right. Now, the bottom. Let's talk about this section here. So these items, what you're seeing on the screen, directly correspond to the items that show up in this dropdown. So when I go to create a link, Jira is going to ask me, well, what kind of link do you want to do, right? Is it a block? Is it a clone? Is it a deploy? Is it an escalated? Is it duplicated, right? Is it an idea? Is it an implements? Is it merged to? Is it reviews? Is it reviews by? Is it caused by, right? Jira is going to ask us a crap ton of these questions. And this, my friends, is where they show up. This is where they live. And so if you don't want to show a value, you just simply delete it. So maybe we want to do I don't know which one let's do Polaris. No, Polaris is going to be Jira product discovery. So none of these are good. We'll come back to deleting. But if you wanted to delete one, this is where you come to delete. Okay. If you wanted to edit for some reason, you can come in here and you can change the name. You can change the outward and then the inward. Okay. And so this is where you come to get those changed. And unfortunately, this is an unfortunate thing. So Atlassian, if you're watching, this would be a great scheme or a great feature to add, but these are global, right? So these values that you see here become global values. And so every Jira project is going to have the same values, which is going to be a good thing or a bad thing. And the common scenario that I've seen is people are like, oh, I don't want to see all these other ones. And I'm like, sorry, we have to delete them. And if we delete them, we're deleting them for everybody. So people just got to live by it. So it'd be kind of cool to have a work items linking scheme. So you can say, hey, I just wanted these 5 values in this project. Not a feature today. So Atlassian, if you're listening, maybe get your product managers to talk to me. I'll set you guys straight. Right. But yeah, that would be a cool feature to have in Jira. So, but for now, it's all global. So if you don't want to show something, you got to unfortunately delete the whole thing. Otherwise, it's going to show up for everybody. Right. Now, the last thing that we can do in here is we can add things. So this is where things get tricky, right? So if I wanted to add something, like attend event, right? You name it something, which is not this is not what the end user is going to see. This is strictly this left column. Here's the name, right? But the outward and inward links, that's what the users see, right? So you're going to put attends and attended by. And this is where now your English class is going to have to come and play, right? Because you're going to have to put things like is attended by or whatever you want to do, right? And so these 2 items, when I click on add, right, we now have attend event, we have our attends, we have our attended by, is attended by. And so now when I refresh my Jira, and I go to link something, I now have my is attended by and my attends, right? So very similar to just what I added, right? So the name, it doesn't actually get viewed by the end user, just the outward and inward links. And my general rule of thumb, because there's not a good way to describe this, right? But I just copy what's already there. So I literally, as you can see here, Atlassian's kind of helping you out, right? The duplicates is duplicated by. So I just put that, I don't know, adjective, adverb, whatever. Again, I'm not an English major, guys, right? But whatever word you put in here, you're gonna put the plural version of that, and then you're gonna put the is whatever by version of that. And then the name is less important because the name's just there for your Jira admins to see. The very last thing that I'll mention about work item linking here is that when you add some plugins, so some plugins like Big Picture, and not sponsored, but when you add some plugins, and I do believe Big Picture does this, they might add their own here. And so it's customary to see like parent and child, which completely breaks the native parent child inside of Jira and completely confuses the crap out of people. And people start doing parent child, and then they wonder why it doesn't work, why the parent child don't work. Right. And so be very careful when you're adding plugins, because some of the plugins are going to add relationships in here and some of them are not good, like that parent child that I explained. I'm pretty sure Big Picture is the one that adds that. I don't know if they still do that. I don't personally use Big Picture, but keep that in mind that sometimes certain plugins might, I don't know, contaminate your list here. So be very, very careful. What will be the use case of link work item? Can you please share some examples? Yes. So the big one, the easiest one to describe is blocked, right? So when you're looking at the timeline, I'm going to go back to my board. When I have an epic, right? Naveen's epic number 1, or I'm just going to call it a feature 1, right? And when I have Naveen's feature 2, these are 2 different features that we're going to be working on, right? And so when I put dates on here and I do this, that's great. I have 2 features, but there's an overlap. The problem is when feature 1 or when feature 2, it depends on feature 1 being completed. When I link them, you see this line. This is a link. So if I open up BCM2, I'm going to make it full screen for you. You're going to notice that by me connecting those 2 items, I now have a blocks under the linked worked item. And so this is visually going to show me that these 2 items are connected, and the line is red because the end date of the predecessor is beyond the start date of the processor of the next one, right? And so this is bad. The red line is bad, and so this is an opportunity where you would want to move your schedule around so that the line is gray, right? But when you link these things together, because visually you want to see the relationship of the schedule, Jira's putting in a linked item in here. And so if you have that off, then you're going to lose that value. So Naveen, let me know if that answered your question, but that should have been a good answer there. All right. So apparently Liz and Ghost are on a sidebar here, or side quest for cheating on some stuff, but we're going to leave that alone. For everybody else, I think that's it. I'm just going to go back to my slides here. I just want to remind you folks again, the Atlassian Builder Summit, we have like 80 something seats left. And so if you are thinking of attending, now would be a time for you to attend. If you have signed up and you haven't gotten your hotel, please get your hotel. We do need to fill up as many of those rooms as possible. I have to pay them. I have to buy them if you don't buy them, right? So help a brother out and sign up for those hotels. Even if you stay just one night or 2 nights, right? You don't have to stay like the whole week type of thing. But just one night would go a really, really long way. So come on over, spend the night. We're going to have so much fun on the nights. I'm going to give you guys a personal story. I just got home from a conference, and we were at we had an amazing dinner on Tuesday night. The dinner went till 10 p.m. and then there was an after party that went all the way till midnight. The last thing you want to be doing is cutting your networking and the memories and just the experience of being at a conference together, right? The last thing you want to do is cut it off because you got to drive home for an hour or whatever it is. Spend the night. I guarantee you those $200, $200+ you're going to spend, the relationships you're going to build, the experiences, the networking, the memories, like just it's priceless in my opinion. And we're gonna have so many game nights, like not game nights. We're gonna have so many opportunities to really come together as a community. This is a community event, folks, right? And I'm really gonna emphasize the community part. So you want to spend the night. You don't want to be going home and cutting that off because you might as well have not shown up, right? The technical stuff is going to be like I would say 10% of the benefit of being at the conference. And so if you're not considering spending the night, right, because it's a little expensive, I would urge you that the relationships, the friendships, the just it's hard to explain if you've never been to a tech conference. If you've been to a conference and all you do is go and listen to the talks, that is literally like 10% of the value, right? So if you come here and you're going to just come and listen to a bunch of people talk and show you how to do things in Jira, you're going to walk away missing 90% of the value of the conference, right? And so the connections, the memorable stuff is going to happen at 8, 9, 10 p.m., right? And so if you're not spending the night, right, because we might go to midnight, right? We're going to have Super Smash Brothers and we might go to midnight, right? We might have a lot of fun. And so definitely take advantage of the fact that we have rooms so that you can just go up an elevator and knock out on your bed after an intense 4-hour Super Smash Brothers session. So that's my little spiel there for y'all folks. Make sure you sign up, come. It's going to be so much fun. We're going to have a blast. It's an in-person only, right? You got to be there. This is the only way to build these relationships, these friendships, these memories, these alliances, these just friendships, really, right? I just came back from a 3-day workshop, and I mean, I walked away with some amazing connections and some amazing conversations that I had at 10:30 p.m., 11 p.m., right? And you can't do those when you're driving home and only coming to attend the event. So make sure you stick around. Won't be old style LAN unless I don't know that we can do it's the Smash Brothers. I don't know. Bring your Switch, folks. If you have a Switch and you're coming to the event, bring your switches and we'll figure out. See, we're gonna have 4 projectors, so if we can hook up at least 4 of them, we'll figure it out. But we'll have some fun playing Smash Brothers. So, anyways, folks, sign up for the Atlassian Builders Conference happening October 22nd to the 24th. If you're gonna be in Barcelona, I'll be in Barcelona, so stop by and say hi. Otherwise, I'll see you next month. Bye, everyone.